Okay, hello there YouTube, it's Rob here again, talking to you today about T2 Trainspotting, the sequel to Trainspotting, obviously. This is going to be my review and genuine reaction to when I first saw the film a few days ago. So let's get straight into it, let's begin, let's go. The 1996 film Trainspotting was a youthful romp around Scotland, with Renton, the lovable scamp, and his ragtag group of friends as they did a lot of heroin, beat up and mugged Americans, and generally rejected a respectable way of life. The film is counterculture in the truest sense of the word. It rejects modern values, justifies in some odd way heroin abuse, and argues against the standard goals that most people in society hold dear to them. The film's message, if it has one at all, is quite difficult to pin down. For me personally, Trainspotting is a message that morality isn't as cut and dry as good versus evil. Likewise, T2 has an equally difficult message to discern, but we'll get to that in due course. Trainspotting was based on the book by Irving Welsh of the same name. The direct sequel, Porno, is told by the same characters 10 years later. So if you've read Porno, you kind of sort of know the plot of T2. It's not exactly. Danny Boyle read a script that was based on Porno and was a very faithful adaptation of the novel, but he didn't really like it and he didn't think it worked as a film. So he's added certain elements and taken certain elements away of the book of Porno, so what you end up with is a kind of amalgamation. But I'm not here to talk to you about the book, I'm here to talk to you about the film. So let's begin our review of T2 Trainspotting. The review! Now, off topic! What a weird title is T2 Trainspotting. From what I've read, he was trying to reference Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which is often abbreviated to just T2. It's like he was trying to make an homage to James Cameron, but I don't understand it. Why Danny Boyle went for T2 Trainspotting instead of naming it after the book Porno, or just calling it Trainspotting 2, doesn't really make a lot of sense. But then again, the original film Trainspotting has nothing to do with Trainspotting, so I suppose naming the second film after Terminator 2 makes as much sense. Anyway, let's carry on with the review. Obviously there will be some spoilers in this review, but I'll try to keep them minor. There won't be any major plot points or anything, but I do advise you go see the film before you watch this review, because my god, I definitely recommend this film. Go watch it and then come back to this video. Anyway, for those of you that have seen it, let's continue. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying this film is beautiful. There is so much wide open spaces and bright and colourful scenes. It actually reminds me a lot of Mad Max Fury Road, which was an apocalyptic film. There's no reason it should look dull and drab, and I think that's what Danny Boyle was going for in this as well. The characters are still amoral drug-taking dickheads, but that doesn't mean the film needs to be ugly. Some of the scenes and shots are just stunningly beautiful, like when Renton and Spud are sat on a hilltop with the bright blue sky in the background and some birds flying over. Seeing that on a massive cinema screen is so stunning. Now I won't mention too much about the film's plot, because as with the first film, there really isn't much of one. In Trainspotting, when you boil it down, it's basically about a drug deal. And that only happens very near the end of the film. Up until that point, you're just watching these characters live their lives, and that is interesting enough to keep your interest. With T2, it's the same kind of deal. There's a lot of story strands going on. Begbie wanting to get revenge on Renton, Sick Boy wanting to do up his grandmother's pub, and Spud trying to get off of heroin. They help the characters have reasoning to do what the things they do, but they're not the reason you're watching the film. It's all these strands coming together and watching what happens to the characters rather than their own personal stories. That's what keeps you interested. Another iconic element of Trainspotting was the hyper-realism mixed with fantasy elements. Like when Renton crawls into the worst toilet in Scotland and ends up in a beautifully serene ocean. Things like that are what made Trainspotting so iconic. However, T2 doesn't have those elements. Maybe they didn't want to try and rehash the first film, maybe they thought it might ruin the first film, or maybe they just went, we got the magic once, we're not going to try and do it again and have it fail. So if you're going to T2 hoping for those elements, you're going to be disappointed. Now there are moments where they take drugs, obviously, there are some fantastical elements like that, but nowhere to the scale of the first film. So if you're going to T2, don't go for it for that, because you will be disappointed. Go for it for the other reasons that I'm talking about, which will not leave you disappointed. Now T2 is very self-aware. There's one moment where the main characters go to a memorial site for Tommy, and Sick Boy says, we're not here for any emotional value, we're here for nostalgia, we're here to feel better about ourselves. And it's like he's almost saying it to the audience, saying, you're only here at the cinema because you want to relive the feelings that Trainspotting gave you. You're not here for the new film and the ideas that this film has. It's a good point. Why did we go to see T2? Was it to see the story of Porno and to see where the characters were, or was it to see all the elements of Trainspotting but revamped for a new generation? Even Renton revamps his Choose Life speech but makes it relevant for the modern day. Now, did we go to the cinema just to hear him do that speech again, but with different words? Or did we go to actually hear what this character has to say about modern life? Now, I know I am dangerously close to praising this film too much and just saying it's perfect. And it's not perfect. No film is perfect. And like every film, Trainspotting has some problems. So let's discuss them now. First of all, at 1 hour and 57 minutes, Trainspotting is too long. I'm one of those people that doesn't think a film needs to be more than an hour and a half. I agree with Alfred Hitchcock. One of the film's strong points, as I mentioned, is its stylized look. Some of the shots look absolutely beautiful and stunning, and they will blow you away. But as I say, it's only some of the shots. Some of the shots are very boring and muted and dull, and in a normal film, you wouldn't really notice them. They look a bit dull, but that's how the film looks. In T2, you know how beautiful the film can be because you've seen these shots, and it's only by contrasting the beautiful stuff with the boring, dull stuff that you notice just how boring and dull some of the stuff is. Now, the film uses freeze frames throughout the film, especially during the first half and especially during action sequences. Now, I heard an interview with Danny Boyle who said that it's because he wanted you to focus on certain scenes a bit more, and when it freeze frames, your brain goes, oh, this is important, okay, I'll remember this bit. The problem is the film begins to overuse the freeze frame motif. By the half point in the film, you're kind of expecting freeze frames to come up, and so they're less of a shock for your brain, and so it just doesn't really work as well for me. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, T2 has a very difficult message to understand, the same as Trainspotting, but I think that's because it doesn't just have one message. It's a very big film, there's a lot going on, and if it just had one message to slap you in the face with, it would just be too easy. The film is trying to say a lot, and the audience needs to do some of the work to work out what it's trying to say. Is the film just about nostalgia and memories? Is it about vengeance, quite simply? Is it about people trying to overcome who they were and become better people? Is the idea that people just don't change? Or is the film about friendship and how the bonds of friendship can overcome anything? Personally, I think it's a mix of all of those messages and other ones combined together. It's a big film and it makes you think, and that's why I love it. It's not just, hey, remember Trainspotting? Well, we've done it again. T2 Trainspotting is a fantastic film and I definitely recommend everybody goes and sees it. Okay, thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please click like. If you've seen T2 Trainspotting, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. If you like my videos, please click subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and I'll see you guys in the next video about something else. Cheers now, I'll see you soon.